G'day leaders. On today's episode of Captain and the Clown, we get to speak with a truly amazing man.
And legend.
Olympian Daniel Kowalski.
Yes. I love this podcast. I've been a friend and a fan of Daniel since his swimming career in the mid to late 90s. What an amazing athlete and what an amazing human being.
I remember staying up watching telly, just the Olympics. It was so exciting, and watching the swimming, especially the men's swimming, they were inspirational. And Daniel, knowing, I suppose, from the what we saw on the television and meeting the man in person and just what he had to say is just, I've got goosebumps, truly inspirational.
Enjoy.
Why did it count backwards? I don't know, that we're now recording.
What? Hello, Captain.
What do I...
Come fly with me. Let's fly away.
What are we going to talk about?
I don't know. So, leadership, life, and everything else.
Yeah.
And we're live.
No, we're recording.
I do that every time, Daniel. I'm so sorry.
Doesn't get old?
No,
It does.
But we've had feedback from a few of our listeners that do it every time because it annoys Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're live, but we're not recording every time.
Yeah.
We're excited. So we've got a very special guest today. I've known Daniel for some time, but Michelle, Daniel Kowalski.
I know. I only ever knew you from the telly.
When it was black and white.
No,
It
not that
wasn't
long
black and
ago.
white. That makes me old as well too, Daniel.
Yes.
So I'm actually older than you, I think.
30 plus years, I guess, we've known each other.
We have, yeah. It's been quite a while.
Yep.
Yeah, and one of the best swimmers Australia's ever produced.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you.
Well, Michelle said, fill me in about how you know Daniel. I said, we both competed at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel, so you had you won Olympic medals in 1500, 400 and 200 at the same Olympics.
Correct.
And you were the first person to do that since 1904.
Yes. It was in 92 years.
So that was in Atlanta, wasn't it?
That's right, 96, yep.
Yeah. And then I think gold medal in 2000.
I swam in the heat of a relay of a 4x200 freestyle relay. So it's always an interesting one because obviously I was a part of a team that won a gold medal, but do I necessarily think I'm a gold medalist? It's always a contentious topic within my brain.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I always see you as a gold medalist from 2000 because it does take a team to win a medal in a relay.
Yeah, well, as you would know, coming from a team sport, it really does take all those pieces. But it was always a little bit, not hollow, but because those games were in Sydney and the crowd was electric, and so not being able to stand on the podium and hear the national anthem, it just didn't have the same sort of impact, I think, what winning a gold medal would if you had experienced those two things.
But at the World Champs, 4x200 World Champs, world record in 90...
97 was it?
No. Go back a year. 90. No, it wasn't 96.
94.
Was it 94 or 98?
No, 98. And it wasn't, it wasn't a world record. If I had not done a 0.61 changeover, we probably would have broken a world record. But
I thought you
0.61.
Wasn't that the swim that put you guys into the top ranking, the world number one ranking?
We broke the world record at Commonwealth Games.
That's the one I'm thinking about. Because I remember that because that put Australian swimming into the number one ranking, first time since 56.
Yes, that's So a long time coming.
You can tell I was a big fan back then,
even
though we're both competing at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, water polo, we swim, but we don't swim as fast as you guys. And that was I saw that as the golden era, especially on the male side of swimming. You guys with the 4x2 and all of the 1500s that you were in. And anyway, big fan.
Everyone was talking about the swimming, Australian swimming, and you just expected, no pressure, but expected medals.
Yeah.
Like it was, and there was such hype and coverage, and everywhere Australian flags and the boxing kangaroo, and it was inspiring. People were happy.
Yeah, I think one of the many benefits of being a part of that generation when there was only 4 channels to pick from and not as many choices for sports to play and to watch. So, and I just the talent on that team was second to none. But Guy, your point's interesting. It's very rare when the men and women are both firing
at the same time.
At the same time, and I think that's fair across a number of sports.
Absolutely, in water polo as well. The girls went up and won the gold medal in 2000, and then the men did well, and then the girls do well. Yeah, it never seems to happen at the same time.
It's an interesting study for someone to take up.
But your era put swimming on the map, in my opinion. You became household names. I've mentioned to many friends before today that we were interviewing Daniel Kowalski, and they go, "You're kidding."
That's so bizarre to me.
See, I think of swimming as your era and Dawn Fraser. They're the two that I think Australia and for me, you know, the time blurs, and I just think it went from Dawn Fraser straight to you guys. So not that time in between. And
I guess that's amazing to hear. But the sad thing is that the swimming team in particular in Tokyo was incredible. Yeah. The World Championships last year, incredible. And I think it gets back to that point. We have so much available to us. It's 24/7, and there's so many different platforms that it's hard to get through that cluttered market.
Yeah. But you guys gave them a good stepping stone to swimming being a career that's going to then launch you into other areas, other careers. There's been quite a few swimmers from that area who have gone on to different things because of their fame, I guess. Yeah,
fame and work ethic and all those attributes, I think being an elite athlete, provides you, instills in you. So, look at Kieran Perkins, who's basically the head of sport in this country as the CEO of the Sports Commission.
Yep.
It's great to see a number of teammates who have gone on to do great things both out of the pool and in their personal careers.
And yourself as well. You're titled with the Australian...
Thank you.
So what's your official title?
Olympians Association, is it?
No, I'm head of the head of Olympian Services at the Australian Olympic Committee.
Yep.
So the role is multifaceted. Don't let the title fool you. But it's primarily about the alumni engagement. There's Guy and I are one of 4,315 Olympians to have ever competed for Australia. So
what's the number again?
4315.
Oh, cool! I feel quite rare now.
Yes, you are. So there's we're trying to grow this alumni and this connection piece. There's a well-being piece, and come Paris, I'll be a part of the team that sort of oversees the athlete experience in the main village within Paris. So it's a multifaceted role, working across both summer, winter, and all the sports, and being a sports junkie. And I just feel very privileged to have the opportunity to work in that role.
Well, you earned it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And your position, especially over there, I met Katrina Webb last year, and from Paralympian. She is a Paralympian, and she was saying that after the games, your mental health really takes quite a beating, and having the support systems weren't available back then. And did you find that as well when you were competing? And then we find when we've been speaking or you're preparing for something and you give a talk, give a workshop, etc., that you've been working on for a long time, after that adrenaline, you get kind of the blues almost. Did you find that experience with yourself?
I didn't really. Yes, I did, massively. I didn't really realise the enormity of it until I had sort of stood back and reflected on how hard I was on myself post at least the 96 Olympics, because for me it was a gold medal or bust kind of situation, and I didn't achieve that. So for me, this fear of I'd failed and let so many people down, it was a good 18 months of just going to bed every night and crying situation. So I did experience that, but I didn't realise the enormity of it until a few years afterwards.
Because with your particular event, the 1500, you punish yourself more than anyone else in the pool.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Personal opinion.
My daughter's doing squads, and we were telling her about that your swimming career and what you competed in, and she's like, Wow, when we do our hour swimming for squads, we don't, it's exhausting, let alone, and you're fast for 1,500.
If you ask someone who swims a 400 medley, which is arguably probably the toughest swimming pool event, or 200 butterfly, their event is the hardest, but us distance swimmers would like to think that ours
1,500 metres has to be the pinnacle of the sport, mate. From my opinion, anyway. I was a water polo goalkeeper, so I only have to swim about 2 metres. I have to ask. So, with those sort of distances, the training would have been absolutely punishing. How did you motivate yourself when you were back then training?
Training was my favourite part. If they handed out gold medals for training, I'd probably have, a good trophy cabinet full of them. I love the challenge that the coach would put up on the board, and the specific goals that I had set for myself on that particular day to ensure that I could make the most out of that training session. So I loved training. It was easy. The only times that it was difficult was I had a number of, shoulder problems. So I was quite often would have to purely kick 60 kilometres a week.
Wow.
And so that was when it was the most difficult, when I was injured. But otherwise, I absolutely loved training. It was nothing better to me.
Yeah, I've heard other swimmers similar mindset. So Hackett used to turn up and almost want to push himself harder than the what was on the board from the coach.
Yeah, I had the great privilege of training with Grant for a number of years. Before, when he was like 13, 14, he would get put in my lane on the Gold Coast at Miami Swim Club, and when he was in trouble, and I would lap him. And fast forward about 5 years later, when I went back to Miami, and he was lapping me.
Yeah.
So, but he was an incredible trainer. Yeah.
Yeah. So post sport, you said it took a what? So 96, but you kept on going after that. Post sport, how did you land back on Earth?
Yeah, so I feel very fortunate in that, I was consciously aware that the next part of my career was going to be the same as my swimming career. I'm going to have to start at the bottom and work myself up to wherever it is I wanted to go. I didn't exactly know where I wanted to go, but I knew that it wasn't all going to be handed to me on a platter. And I'd seen a few people kind of not nail what a great transition from elite sport could look like. So, I literally, in my last year of uni, I was like, I don't have any real life experience here. So I emailed a few of the sporting organisations in Queensland. I was on the Gold Coast with my family, and I ended up landing an internship with the Brisbane Lions.
Oh, wow.
In their marketing department, and they gave me 6 weeks experience. I remember vividly on the first day I jammed the printer and I did not know how to fix it, and I was beside myself. I don't think you're
the only person that's ever jammed a printer.
But I thought the whole organisation is going to stop because I didn't know how to work the printer or fix the paper jam. I fixed it, and it was a huge wake up call to think, okay, this is literally starting again. But it was fun.
Yeah.
So did you do marketing at uni, or what did you do?
I did a health science degree at Bond University, which was basically a sports management degree, and then I did a counselling undergrad as well. So for me, I always wanted to work in sport. So it was great to have that opportunity, even as a Hawthorn fan, to go and...
I'm so sorry, mate.
No, he's Collingwood.
There's so many things I could say now. But
say them. This is an open podcast. You can say whatever you want.
Beautiful set of teeth.
Yeah, exactly. I have them. No, I'm missing one just over here. That's how I got in the club. I got one missing on the side. Yeah, I was going to say, my first job at the Australian Sports Commission, I was on the help desk, and I used to unjam printers all day, almost for a living, whilst I was training down there.
Was that in that library part, or was that in?
No, so we were over in the sports. That's right, we were over in the sports science building. We were upstairs in the sports science building, and I was the help desk. I wandered around with a phone, helping people's back before Windows. So that's how long. I know.
Commodore 64. He'd go and replace the cassettes.
Support Lotus 123 for DOS. I don't know if you remember that, Daniel. It's a long time ago.
By name, I do.
Yeah, but over in the library in the Sports Commission, I used to go and help people with their printers and stuff. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there we go. So we've both got a history of jamming printers. I unjam printers and you jam them.
Yes, only once.
Yeah. We only need to do it once. You remember. So what did you learn from swimming? So you said that you thought you were starting from the ground up after swimming. I'd actually suggest that you probably came out from your sport with more skills that you weren't aware of that people often see Olympians and people who have achieved what you have achieved, and when they move into the business arena, that the dedication, the passion, the getting up again after failure, they're the life skills that are so important in business. That's me suggesting some. But what other skills do you think you came out of swimming with now that you can look back on it?
I think the ability to prioritise and understand what is important and need to do now, and what can sort of sit back and wait. The controlling the controllables. You in that office environment, and there's things that you obviously can have an impact on, and there's others that you can't control anything, and so save frustration and control the controllables. And then just basic time management. Just understanding a deadline is a deadline for a reason. A meeting starts at 9, and that means be there at 8:55 kind of mentality. So there are a lot, like you said, there's a lot of traits and characteristics that you bring being an elite at what it is that you do. But I think it's that doubt, the lack of confidence, because I hadn't experienced, going to a staff meeting and taking minutes and things like that. What you do when you're starting out, and it's like, oh, I can't do it. So the negativity creeps in. But you're right. You don't fully appreciate what you have learnt. In our case, swimming up and down the black line, and how that is transferable to what you do on a day-to-day basis.
So your the swimming that you did was singular. So it was just you. You were in a team though, and in the relay it was a team, but you trained as if for your own PB basically.
Exactly.
But because it was a team, and there are politics always when other humans are together, etc., has that helped you managing that team and being in a team then in your work life?
It's interesting. We talked at the start about the dynamic and the success of the swimming team in the late 90s and 2000s in Australia. And a lot of that was because the personalities on that team realised that until you got on the blocks, you were genuine teammates and you would support one another. So I was a part of an environment that success bred success. And so I was able to take that to, the other parts of my life, and realise that if I was going to be successful, then I needed to work very closely and understand what my peers and fellow colleagues were doing around me in order to improve myself on a day-to-day basis. So swimming gave me that foundation, despite being an individual sport, that the success isn't going to happen without a good support network and a good team around you. And the irony is I spent a large part of my career working, basically by myself. So I really savoured the moments that I have worked in an environment where you are a part of a team.
Yeah, I want to work with you.
I used to admire the culture that the swimming team created, because you'd often see them on the side of the pool days after their own events have finished, supporting each other, and almost your own portable cheer squad every Olympics and World Champs. It was quite impressive.
Yeah, well, it was a rule. So
was it?
It was a rule.
You will have team culture.
Yeah, but people, I remember when I first started on the national team in '93 as a rookie, it wasn't like that.
No.
And I think to that point, the success, the emergence of Kieran and what he brought to the pool deck.
Yeah.
And then, Susie O'Neill comes along, and then you've got a male and a female, Sam Riley. You've got some, upstanding quality people who led by performances, and it rubbed off on everyone else. And then you go to, Sydney, and you bring in your Thorpes, Petria Thomas, Michael Klim, Grant Hackett. You bring in this slew of athletes who have learnt from that, your Kierans and your Susies and Patrias and so forth. And you just you just buy into it quickly, and you want to be a part of it. And it was fantastic. So by the end, you wanted to be in the stands and you wanted to be cheering on.
So it wasn't a rule
teammates
anymore. It was,
It was still a rule.
It was still a rule. But like you say, you had created this amazing culture in the team, and I always admired that. And I talk about that in our team building sessions about how, if you have that sort of passion in your team, that culture in your team, people feel what's called psychologically safe. And so in an environment, a work environment, they then give their best. They always bring their best. But if it's not a good team culture, then you're not at your best because you're worrying about what your colleagues doing or whatever, rather than supporting each other.
Yeah, agreed.
So we love talking about leadership. So if you don't mind, I'd love to ask you some questions about leadership. And one of the questions we always ask is, what makes somebody the sort of person other people would be inspired to follow? In other words, what are the character traits important in a leader from your perspective?
Definitely humble, down to earth, and someone that I would want to be like. And by that I mean, for me, the epitome of a leader is someone who walks in regardless of what level they're at, and they will always say hello.
Yeah,
and
the humility.
And to me, the humility of it. For me, what that does is shows that there's a genuine care and interest.
Yep.
That may be the only interaction you have all day, but the fact that the CEO has taken the time to walk by and say hello, I think that's very powerful.
Did you ever meet John Boltby when he was?
Of course.
Yes.
Yes.
So when I was working at the Sports Commission, on John Boltby's first day as the new director, I was running around with a help desk phone. I was running out of the Sports Science building, and John Boltby, the new director, was being shown around by somebody. I can't remember who was showing him around. I didn't know who this guy was, but the guy walking him around said, Guy, this is John, the new director. And I said, oh, hi, John, nice to meet you. And he said, oh, Guy, what do you do? I said, I'm on the help desk. And he said, oh, lovely to meet you. I said, I'm just running off, John, to help somebody. So, yeah, lovely to meet you. And I ran away to help whoever had a computer problem at the time, restart DOS or something. And then I think it was 2 days later, I was walking past John. He said, Guy, how you going? How's the help desk going? Yeah. On that day, he met everyone, and he remembered everyone's name and where they worked. Yeah, very personable. And I talk about that story all the time, how personable he was and the humility he had as well.
And for me, that is what makes a great leader.
Well, it's somebody who is being led by somebody like that feels seen as well. So they feel valid, they feel like they're contributing. So of course you want to help, you want to give more. So if you're recognised.
Yeah, I've never worked in an environment like a bank, for example, where there's thousands upon thousands of people. So I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
But every majority of jobs that I've had, the office size has never been any more than 40 or 50.
Yep.
And so to be, that's still a big effort from, the senior management or the senior leaders within an organisation to have the ability to do that, but anyone who can.
Yeah. I worked with ING back when they were called ING Direct, and their CEO was like that. Vaughan, I think his name was. Hope I got that right, but anyway, he used to spend time getting to know people. He even was busking out of the front of the building in disguise one day to just kind of get a feel for what it was like if people didn't know who he was.
Yeah, right. It's like that undercover CEO.
Undercover CEO, yeah.
Whereas I worked for a company where we all wore name badges, and you would see people go, "G'day, Michelle," as they're looking down. And sometimes you just walk up, "Hi," and cover your name badge. "G'day, mate."
Yeah.
Everyone was mate.
Yeah.
So who's some leaders that you have learned from? So not even necessarily leaders. Who are people that you have admired and learned from over the years?
My favourite leader of all time, he was the head coach of the Duke University basketball program, and he coached the American basketball team to gold at 2008, 2012, 2016. His name's Mike Krzyzewski. Incredible, passionate, a very vocal, great speaker, inspiring speaker. I had the fortune of meeting him a couple of times, and he couldn't have been any nicer.
Yep.
Like, why would he give up time to this crazy fan who was there because he was a crazy fan, and he took time out of his day? And for me, he was my all-time favourite leader.
Brilliant.
And the success of the program had a lot to do with it as well.
Yep.
But for me, what was very telling was NBA players are obviously some of the highest paid athletes in the world. They are, on TV 3 or 4 times a week. They are bigger than big in the US, which is, from a sport point of view, quite often the toughest market to crack. and he could get everyone from LeBron James, Kobe Bryant to buy into that team ethos with all those egos.
Yeah.
For me, that's incredible. That says a lot about someone who is a great leader.
Yeah. Have I ever told you about when we arrived in Barcelona in '92 and we were getting our passes to go into the village? All these photographers came running into the room, and we're all puffing up our chest thinking that they're going to take photos of us. And then in walks the dream team. So
Amazing.
Jordan, Johnson, and it's like I'm same distance I am to you from all these people that I grew up idolising. When you went to the Olympics, did you see any other athletes that you had admired? And
where do we start?
I got a hug from Steffi Graf in the opening ceremony.
Okay, so it's funny, the tennis players I remember vividly on the morning of my first event at the 1996 Olympics, and Lindsay Davenport and Monica Seles were literally on the next table over.
Yep.
It was between heats and final of the 200 freestyle, and I didn't think I'd make the final, and I made the final, and I was sitting next to my coach, and he was starting to talk about, race plan, and,
And you couldn't
all I
concentrate.
could see was Lindsay Davenport and Monica Seles eating McDonald's French fries, and I was just blown away. I was like, this is what the Olympics are about, being a sports absolute tragic.
Yeah.
Saw Muhammad Ali in the dining hall.
Wow.
Michael Johnson wasn't staying in the village, but he came into the village. He must have been doing something in particular. The same with the Dream Team; they weren't there, but it was that for me is what the Olympics were. Anna Kournikova, I shared a golf cart with her. At the time, though, I did not know it was Anna Kournikova. I have to be honest. So yeah, amazing. Best part of the Olympics for me.
Yep.
And I clearly remember on our first day, our team manager, he sat us all down. Remember we were in that dormitory in 96. It was nothing special.
Oh, I didn't go to 96. We failed to qualify.
Oh, failed is a strong word. Okay.
No, it's a failure. It's a story I tell.
Okay. Yeah, that is tough. Sorry.
No, not at all. Just to let you know, the year before we'd won the top 8 nations tournament, so we went from 1 to failing within a year.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, it was tough. Anyway,
They learned a great lesson though.
It was a good lesson. It was a very good lesson. But anyway,
Well, we were in a dormitory on the campus of Georgia Tech, and our team manager's like, you're here at the Olympics, you're all Olympians, you're all the same. You don't need to be getting autographs or taking photos. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. And what I do, I had my little wind-up camera and my autograph book. Loved it.
Yeah. So Muhammad Ali, did you get to talk to him?
No, because literally he walked into the dining hall, and then all of a sudden it was like the parting of the Red Sea.
Yeah,
everyone stood up, rushed to like the aisle, and just clapped as he walked by.
Brilliant.
It was incredible.
Yeah, I love that he got that. Peter Montgomery said to me once that he's the most humble human being you'll ever meet.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
when
so nice to
when you
hear.
talk to him, like it doesn't matter who you are, you get his undivided attention.
Yeah, beautiful.
So, you're talking about humble before.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali.
Love hearing that. Monty's a great man too.
Absolutely. What he's achieved in his life, it's incredible.
So the coach the NBA coach that you admire, have you taken on any of his qualities or his style in your own leadership journey?
I've got a similar Polish last name. That's about it.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. Obviously I'd like to think that I say hello to everyone if we're being if we're putting it that way. But otherwise, I don't know actually.
Okay. Yeah. Are there any qualities that you have taken on, like knowingly taken on from somebody who you've admired or you've been led by, you followed, you saw a little snippet of something and went, oh, I like that, and I'll do that?
Wow, that's a really good question. As I was walking here, I was like, okay, you need to get in this mindset of, leadership and people who have inspired you. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a very long list. And now that I've been put on the spot, but this one's going to really, really throw you because you're not going to think that I'm going to say it.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with K-pop.
Yeah.
And the group BTS.
Okay.
Yes.
For me, I survived the pandemic because of them. And how just for a truly global phenomenon, how much love that they provide their fans through just basic interactions, whether it be they get up on their platform and they do a live of them in the kitchen to their messaging in their songs. For me, like they're incredible leaders, and what they've done to break down so many different barriers, whether it be people knowing about K-pop or the stuff that they do with UNICEF, or what they did for not just Black Lives Matter, but also when there was a lot of Asian hate crime in the US and bringing attention to that. So for me, I look at that, and like I said, you probably wouldn't realise, but I think just being nice to people
so kindness
and championing a cause is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, can I say, Daniel, since the first time I met you, I've observed that in yourself. So, yeah, you're always friendly to everyone, and you give everyone your time. So,
My parents would be very proud.
Well, they should be. What are their first names?
Tony and Penny.
Tony and Penny, you should be very proud.
Are they still on the Gold Coast?
Mum passed away not long once the pandemic started, so that was a challenge through that whole thing.
Very tough.
And Dad's still kicking it strong on the Gold Coast. So my sister and my niece are up there.
Yeah.
They're coming down for Taylor Swift in a couple of weeks. So
nice.
are
you going?
Yes, it'll be my ninth time.
How'd you get tickets?
Wow,
Nine times.
Taylor
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
So you're what do they call Swifter?
I feel like
Swifter.
I'm a Swiftie.
Yeah, a Swiftie.
Swifty.
Yeah.
You got your outfit?
I have not.
All over TikTok, I'm seeing my daughter's
I
TikTok.
love your algorithm.
Yeah. I'm seeing everyone doing their unboxing and whatever.
Yeah, and I'm taking my niece is coming down with my sister, and they're going, but I'm also taking my husband's two nieces and his twin sister. So we're going, and we're making the bracelets next
brilliant.
weekend.
Yeah.
So I saw there are all these rules that you're allowed to do.
You need to send me this then.
I will. I'll send you the rules, because there are rules about what you can take, what you can't take. Friendship bracelet. There are rules around the friendship bracelets.
Right.
There are
Wow.
So I'll send you the rules.
Okay.
Isn't she a phenomenon?
Oh, listen, I'm obsessed with her. I'm obsessed with her relationship. Kudos to a powerful, strong, passionate woman.
Yep.
Doing what she loves and the inspiration she provides, not just women, but men. It's, power to her.
Yeah.
She's also
Absolutely.
providing a script or a narrative that girls and women can feel comfortable. Again, it's not the first time. So it's not they're having to stand up as if they're doing it for the first time. It's now a narrative that's out there about standing your ground, and she's provided that. Other women have as well before her, but because she's got so much attention because of all the avenues that she can broadcast to, social media, and she's even on mainstream news and every channel she's on, just that having that audience and that audience hold that she's got, young girls can now, easily say, no, that's, I'm not putting up with that, and who do you think you are, and questioning why did you do that, and so calling people out.
Yeah, and I just feel the last 18 months has been the most incredible time if you are a young woman.
Yep.
The Matildas for me last year
immediately thought of
was
Matildas.
the absolute highlight of my sporting life for me, that I've never ridden so many emotions
and
in
every
a sporting
kick.
event.
Yeah, we were the same.
We were all the family. We were there on the lounge.
And I just feel the snowball from that across. I was reading an incredible story on ESPN this morning about there's this young basketballer, Caitlin Clark is her name, and she's about to break the all-time scoring record for women's Division 1 basketball. But the stadiums on the road, they're selling out for the first time ever, and people are waiting 90 minutes just to get a seat to go watch her and her team play. The first ever professional women's ice hockey league has started. You look at the emergence of the A-League for women in particular in this country. I mean, it's just, I don't have kids, but if I had a kid, I'd love it to be a girl. I'd love to be a girl dad, and just, I think it's a very special time.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, we'll introduce you to Maddie, and you can adopt her, and because she's loving her swimming.
I love that.
And she's and what I love about her is she's not competitive at all, but she loves training, and she loves just swimming. And she said, I would swim every single day if I could. We haven't. It's purely my laziness. She's not swimming.
You're pacing.
But it's she loves it for swimming, not for competing. And she says, the coach rouses on me all the time because I don't go fast, and I won't compete, so he puts me in the front, so I have to go faster so they don't catch me. But she loves it, and so again, when we told her that we were talking to you today, she was like, oh, okay, and you were talking about how you would get a gold medal for training. I also subscribe to enjoying the journey, not just the destination. Did you ever come across anyone within the team or in your training up, like your swimming career, from when you started up to the ultimate peak, anyone along the way that was purely focused on the goal and not enjoying the journey?
Didn't enjoy the journey.
And if so, did they make it?
Okay, you can't name names.
No,
but
did they make it to their goal or not? Was their attitude wrong?
Yeah, like I can probably say this. Petria Thomas hated training.
Right.
Like every day it'd be like, oh. And obviously her record goes without saying, one of the most incredible athletes Australia's ever produced. But she hated it.
Right.
Absolutely hated it. Gianne Rooney was another one who did not like the training either.
Yeah.
So much so I believe she has still not hopped back in the pool since she retired back in 2006.
Yeah.
So those two definitely come to mind because they were the opposite to me. They absolutely loved racing. They were just hungry for the racing, whereas the training they could have left that.
Yeah.
Which shows that there are different types of athletes.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
I probably would have preferred to be more like them.
Really?
Yeah. You shouldn't, after all those hours of endless training, get scared when you get behind the blocks. But that was what it ended up becoming like for me.
We tell our kids there's that anxiety or being scared is exactly the same chemical as being excited. So it's reframing.
You just needed to tell yourself that you were excited.
That's it.
All those nerves would have been turned into something else.
I was excited when I was 9 years old, but then when you actually had to do it and it was happening, I was like, oh, this is too much.
So how did you manage your stress?
I didn't.
You didn't? Okay.
I think I'm a good study in how not to do it.
Yeah.
Like if I could have parked my brain, taken it out and put it on the chair next to the block, that would have been a good thing.
Yeah. What about now?
Do I get nervous, excited like that?
Yeah, now. Have you been able to learn from that?
Yeah, because I feel like I'm more process driven, as I was always putting the cart before the horse. So I was all worried about the outcome as opposed to that process, that journey of getting there. So now I'm just savouring that moment, that, swimming, using an analogy, swimming for the fun as opposed to the end result.
Yeah. If I can swing back to another famous female athlete, so Dawn Fraser, fantastic Australian swimmer. Michelle, being an airline captain, flew her many times.
Amazing.
And she would always hang around after the flight for photographs and autographs.
Bless her.
Yeah, that's. I love hearing that story because my pool, Dawn Fraser Pool in Balmain, it was obviously named after her. And to hear that she had that that she still to this day allows people to fan on her and come up and take photos and autograph, and she'll hang around for an hour after the flight.
Yeah, she does. So we actually had to kick her off the flight.
Right.
Like, new passengers need to come on. You're gonna have to go. But
a true national treasure right there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Isn't she? Cheeky, but a national treasure, like you say. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
We're just looking at our notes here.
Yeah. I love the fact that you're here, Daniel.
Oh, thank you.
Do.
I'm having a great time.
I've been looking forward to this podcast ever since you said yes. Sorry, Michelle, go.
Okay, so I have a question. Have you got what comes to mind, the funniest thing ever in first of all, your swimming career and then post-swimming career?
Oh, wow. The funniest thing ever. That is... that's a really tough question. I don't think I've ever been asked the funniest thing ever.
Like, is there something and that you'll be somewhere and there might be a little trigger and you can't stop laughing, like if it's internally because other people wouldn't understand, or was there a ritual for newbies, or was there something when you won, or was there on tour, it happens on tour, stays on tour sort of thing, but you can now tell us.
Not really. We did used to have rookie and skit nights and so forth, and there was one at the World Short Course Championships in 1993, which was highly inappropriate now that we think back at it.
Everything we did back then is now highly inappropriate.
It's crazy to think that if that happened today, it would not.
No.
Would not like.
OH&S was different back then, wasn't
you'd be
it?
out the door, and that's to that point earlier. Like being in a generation where there was only 4 TV channels, also going through with no social media and no
No
phones.
recording of what
How
you
good
did.
was that?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So good.
We were so much safer back then.
So much safer. Yet nowadays, if I leave the house without my phone, I literally have left my life behind.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is.
But in terms of funny, it's not really that funny now that I'm thinking about it, but there
At the
was this video, you see it on YouTube, and this guy was doing an interview for, I think, CNN, and all of a sudden the door opens and his daughter wheels in this little roller thing. And then next thing, the little baby comes, the youngest one comes in, and all of a sudden the mother hightails it around the corner, all on live TV. And the reason that is funny is because my now husband and I, that for us, that was the funniest thing that we've ever seen in our life. And so for me, that was probably something that's really funny, which you have to see.
I remember that one.
You have to
I
see
do.
the
I remember
video.
that as well.
Yeah.
Was it during lockdown when everyone was on Zoom and?
I feel like the interview may have happened before that.
Okay. Yeah.
But it really came to the fore during that.
Yeah.
And just today, there was a gentleman visited the office, and he had no shoes on. He just had his socks on,
Okay.
and he tripped getting onto the ferry, and they fell in the harbour.
Oh.
Ah, that's a
And
good story.
My colleague, bless her, had to leave a meeting because he was just standing there in his socks, poor guy. But she couldn't stop laughing. And then the whole office literally were crying tears of laughter. So I really hope he's not listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, look,
It
next
didn't happen.
hotel.
No, it's just a story you've
my
made
word.
up.
Next hotel.
We can cut that one out.
We can get the slippers and you keep them at work because you never know.
But the irony is because we have outfitting for
Yeah,
teams and stuff,
of course.
we felt for sure we're going to have a size 12.5 Asics. We couldn't find anything.
Wow.
We could not find anything, but it was very funny. You had to be there kind of moment, but I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get back to the office and I'm going to be like, oh, that was funny. I should have said that.
I was running training courses during COVID. Obviously everything went on to Zoom, and I had a particular workshop where I think I had people from 4 countries, a few from Australia, and most people didn't want to put their cameras on for some reason. But I said, no, it's got to be on. I want to see your face. If I tell a joke and it lands, I want to see you laughing. You know, it's really lonely talking to a blank screen, which I had to do a few times because I had some workshops where nobody put their camera on. So I made it a rule. And this particular day, it backfired because one particular guy was sitting there and his partner walked behind him completely naked, not knowing they were on the Zoom.
How was that happening?
I know. How do you not know that someone's at a computer? They're actually, mind you, he wasn't talking. So I guess she thought he was just looking at a screen, and she walks past completely naked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There was that one where the guy was doing
Yes.
I'm not a cat.
I'm not a cat. I didn't see that one.
He couldn't get the cat filter off.
Oh.
That one made us laugh a lot too. Isn't it funny that we can look back at that stuff now during the pandemic and laugh about it? Even just coming here today, I was just mesmerised by still seeing people everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I
so-
digress.
not at all. Yeah. I both hated and loved COVID. I loved it from the perspective that I got to spend so much time with my son. We had so much time to play football and do all sorts of things together. But I didn't like it because we were isolated, and it was horrible. Horrible to isolate everyone from their community, from their friends. But I guess there's always good and bad in everything.
I'm sorry, this is not my podcast, but I'm curious to know from you, with your background, and then obviously so many planes were grounded, and you hear all these stories like pilots weren't able to, like, they're going to lose their training credentials or whatever it might be. Like, from that perspective, that would have been horrible.
It was. Everyone was, there were basically 2 mindsets. So some were, actually 3, some were who are old timers. Oh, thank goodness, like there's a break. I can get to stay home. Others were who had no training other than aviation. So they'd never been anything other than a pilot. Straight out of school, that's what they were going to do, and that's all they knew. They were thinking, my life is over. I can't do anything else. I don't know what else to do. And then there were people like myself who had come into aviation
or had other skill sets, other training, trades, etc. And, we could turn our hand to anything. And it was like, okay, well, I'll try this for a while, thinking we'll come back. Like, we knew it was going to come back. The world couldn't go on without aviation and all the freight companies. So freight companies were hiring pilots. And it was that thing of, do I stay and get the JobKeeper, which was a lot less than what we were used to being paid?
Yeah.
Or do I go, take the jump and go over to a freight, or do I do something else? I actually accepted a redundancy during this, and I looked at it as an opportunity. So it's like, okay, well, I've had, 20 plus years of my career there. Was going to retire in a few years after anyway. I'll just take it early and do something else now.
Got lemons and made lemonade.
That's it. And I don't know about you if you've interviewed anyone, if you've been hiring, but that couple of years when the lockdowns were on and people were taking redundancies or losing their jobs, it doesn't really, what I'm seeing is that companies are seeing that if there's a gap of a couple of years, there aren't questions. It's like, okay, yep, we understand.
Yep.
And whereas before, if there was a gap, why?
Yeah, red flag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really the people who had the best mindset who survived during COVID.
I'm still staggered that we lived through that.
Yeah.
And got out of it.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated, and I would bring this back to our athletic performance. The Tokyo Olympics, from a performance point of view, some of what athletes were able to do really made you sit back and go, oh, well, maybe we've got this training thing wrong. Because despite, being locked out of venues and couldn't train or playing together as teams, it was some of the best performances the world has ever seen.
Yep.
So I was sitting back thinking, oh, well, maybe I only have to swim 40 kilometres a week and not 80 kilometres a week, and shows you the importance from a swimming perspective of dry land. But I think more than anything, to your point, is, the strength and the resilience and that people got going through that was obviously unparalleled for many, for all of us really, unless you'd lived through, what was it, the Spanish?
The
Spanish flu. Yeah, absolutely. So Daniel, looking back on your career, what would you say are the greatest lessons that you've got out of swimming and your career since then?
For me, the power of bringing a full self every day is the most important thing that I've learnt in life. So only coming out as a gay man at 26, I felt like I robbed myself of some of the happiest and best years of my life. But now that I am able to bring my full self to everything that I do, that's the thing that I'm most proud of, and the thing that I regret the most as well, if that makes sense. So that from in terms of life and career, that is the thing that that would be on my headstone, if that was such a thing.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have been treated differently if
it was earlier?
If your team knew? Or did they know?
No, I didn't really know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think hindsight, I probably did, but you suppress all of that, sadly. But I talked earlier about I was scared standing behind the blocks, and part of me often thinks, was I scared because I just didn't know who I was, and I didn't know. I didn't have an identity, so to speak.
Yep.
I don't believe, me understanding who I was would have changed the results.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have won gold medals and so forth. I just feel like I would have not put the cart before the horse, and I would have enjoyed that process and, swimming at Olympic Games a lot more. But I can't change it, so all I do is ensure that I don't put myself in that same position again.
It just shows to me that even though, looking back now, you feel maybe you weren't, in the right mindset or the right priorities, you're still Olympian, even with that.
And a very successful
I know.
Olympian.
So, wow.
Yeah, and the thing, and for me, I love that because, no one can take away, being Olympian from us, and we've adopted a phrase, once an Olympian, always an Olympian, and not everyone has a great Olympic experience, which is why the role that we do, I feel, is really, really important. But for me, I felt as though that was my only identity, and I feel like that sort of, exasperated the way I was feeling. And, I just had many regrets, and if I could have my time again, probably that would be a big thing that I would change. There'd be many things that I would change, and I'm happy to admit that.
Wouldn't we all? We'd all love to go back in time. We have routines that we use every day to make sure we are turning up our best. Do you have any routines now? You clearly are fit. So what do you do now to make sure?
It's the nicest thing you said.
So what do you do to maintain health but to turn up your best?
Exercise for me, both physically and more mentally. I feel as though when I have a routine from an exercise point of view, then I'm able to bring not just my full self, but my best self to work. Interestingly, I still get the guilty feelings if I'll go 1 or 2 days outside of my routine of not exercising. Mm-hmm. So for me, exercise is what is the foundation of everything that I do, because physically, obviously, it's great, even though my body does hurt, but more mentally. More mentally. So for me, from a routine point of view, it is 100% exercise.
So what does your typical day look like?
I'm usually up at 5:45. And then I swim 3 times a week, and I'll go to the gym twice a week. Thursday is temple day, so in a sense I treat my body like a temple, so I like to have a rest.
Oh, nice. I like that idea.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then, usually at work by 8, and usually leave by 6. And daylight savings, my husband and I like to go for a walk after dinner. Mm-hmm. We are homebodies Monday to Friday. The one thing, and we said this in our wedding vows, is whenever we can, Sunday morning, Marn Pool in Maroubra, best rock pool in the country, in the world. Yeah. That is our thing every Sunday.
Yeah. Rain, hail or
12
shine.
months a year.
Right.
And when we can't do it, we get sad. Yeah. But that's my life.
Do you have a dog?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We have no responsibility other than ourselves.
Okay.
Is he a swimmer?
We actually met at the swimming club, but he was more a social member than a swimmer. But I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Do you still compete?
No, I don't. But I am going to do. I do one ocean swim a year. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, and I flirt with the idea of doing masters again. But I'm just worried that I'm going to go in the start block and I'll dive in and I'll rip the hammy off the bone, or I'm acutely aware of what my body's limitations are.
Yeah. Okay, I could only imagine what it would be like turning up to a Masters tournament, and then you've trained a bit, and then you look over and there's Daniel Kowalski.
There's some I'll do this ocean water swim, and I won't win my age group. Yeah, there's these weekend warriors who are just insanely fit. Yeah, and it's I must admit it's probably the most demoralizing experience because I beat Daniel Kowalski. You can hear them saying it.
I believe that you currently hold a Masters world record, though.
I don't anymore.
You don't? It's been taken from you, has it?
It's all been taken.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you hear that, you're like, you provided some joy in someone's day.
Exactly. I'm here for you.
Down, I'm like,
they're going home bragging.
That hurts.
Yeah. You could have merch as,
I beat Daniel Kowalski. You go and give them a T-shirt afterwards.
Well, they buy it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I only have to buy 1 or 2.
No, I think you need to get back to competing, mate.
Guy does. We sometimes watch water polo matches down at Dawn Fraser, and Guy gets the and then he goes, I couldn't rip out his shoulder.
Could you imagine the next day?
Oh, I do imagine. I have nightmares still to this day because I dislocated my shoulder and ripped it all apart and had a couple of operations and it's still not stable. It's the ligament's still missing and so we were working in Darwin and I said, let's go and get a massage. So we're getting this massage, and she happens to grab my shoulder, put it into a weird position, push, and then massages, and it popped out. And I screamed, she screamed, and I think we were both screaming at the same pitch.
And I was just about at drool stage. When you're so relaxed, you're like, oh. And then I hear this, and I said, are you right, not really wanting to move from the position? He goes, no.
It's dangling out the front. And so I have constant, regular nightmares about going back and playing and that happening. And so the start of the nightmare is, oh, you've been selected again.
Oh,
You know, because the ego death that you have when you retire,
Yeah.
it never goes away it hasn't gone away in my psyche. I keep having these recurring dreams where I'm getting the call up.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic, back on the team. And then I jump in and the shoulder dislocates. And so if you've got any tips on how to finish those nightmares, how to get them out of my life.
as long as you don't die in your dreams, right?
No, I don't die in my
true.
dreams,
Okay,
but I'm in pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't help you.
No, okay.
But I'm curious though, if you don't mind me asking
Yeah.
you a question. As recording this, the World Championships are on.
Yes.
Are you following it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was
Oh,
up, he was
9:30
up, yeah.
tonight on 9 now. Australian
How do you
Sharks.
feel
are
like
playing.
when you watch that?
I struggle.
Yeah.
I'm in the water with them. So being a goalkeeper, they played South Africa the other night, and it was a bit of a whitewash. It was a 20-goal difference. It wasn't really a high-class game, but I can't wait for tonight's game against Spain, because Spain have got some of the best players in the world, and our guys are playing phenomenally. And my mate Tim is the coach.
Nice.
We played together at Balmain. So absolutely following
good.
them, and looking forward to seeing their successes, and then Japan as well. I'll be watching every game eagerly.
Yeah, fantastic.
I love it. Sorry.
Just speaking about the ego death, did you have an ego death? So when you finished, were you like lost at what to do, and your identity as an Olympian and Olympic swimmer, did you feel that you couldn't use that anymore, or who were you if you weren't that?
No, I was always one striving to be more than just an Olympic swimmer. I
Okay.
didn't want that to be my sole identity.
Yeah.
So for me, I was driving for it not to be that.
So you're healthy. You're healthy mental.
I feel like I am now.
Yeah.
but that's why you're in the position you're in, I
Yeah.
guess, because you understand it. So you knew what to do.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many who could do the role that I'm doing.
That's humility for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do feel like the experiences that I've had have set me up to be able to do the role, and I look forward to the day when I pass it on to the
Somebody
next
else pass the
person.
baton on. So what is in the future for you?
So I'm almost 50. So I feel like
Oh, boo-hoo.
So old.
Because 55 in a couple of weeks, and
younger
we
than
won't
that.
say.
I'm younger than
well,
him.
you wouldn't know it. So you're both doing amazing.
Thank you, Daniel.
So for me, I feel like Brisbane 2032 in some professional capacity would be the end of full-time work, and I can go down to hopefully sort of part-time kind of role.
Yeah.
So I'd like to stay involved within the Olympic movement, some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Don't know exactly what that looks like. I think it's going to be very competitive to get a role for anything to do with Brisbane 2032.
Yeah.
But that would be, my husband and I have talked a lot about moving to the Gold Coast, and so we've kind of got like a 5-6 year plan anyway.
Have you got a spare room?
Yeah.
We don't even have a house or anything, so join the queue. But
Yeah, I could imagine.
yeah. So for me, I don't entirely know.
Yeah.
Which is exciting as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we talked a lot about how people adjusted during COVID. What it's taught me is that you can reskill and retrain or learn something new, and it can be transferable into something else. So it's a really good question.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, can I just say a very big thank you? Thank you for coming in.
Thank
You've
you.
been an inspiration to many young swimmers and other athletes. I looked up to you, and we were both competing in different sports, and it's been an absolute pleasure learning from you today. Michelle and I have a gift for you. We'll give you in a moment. We want to say that the lessons that you've provided us today and our listeners are so valuable. So really appreciate your time, mate.
No, thank you both.
Absolutely.
I've absolutely
Thank
loved
you.
it. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care, mate.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, that was fun.
That was fun.
You're such a clown.
The clown.
Lady Captain. There we go.
And who's going to listen to this? Maybe our mums.
Thanks, Mum.